when the Democrats got the majority, I got a chairmanship, which is in addition to a lot of things we've cared about. For a while, these proxies and bad things, but now we're over with. But it has meant I've had less time to be here in Massachusetts and see a lot of old friends, and I appreciate the extent to which you've understood that and been supportive. So when I do get a chance to say hello to a lot of old friends and former colleagues who can do that. The economic news, of course, couldn't be worse. I don't know if you obviously all saw what the job numbers were yesterday. We have lost 1 million jobs in America in 2 months. I think it's probably the case that in the second term of George Bush, America suffered a net loss of jobs rather than job creation. What we've seen is the complete collapse of that right-wing approach, which says government's bad and let the private sector do what it wants. It goes back to Ronald Reagan in 1981, in his first inaugural, which I remember because it was my first year in Congress, and he said, government is not the answer to our problem. Government is the problem. That was the conservative administration of 1980. We have the second most conservative administration. You know, George Bush, the current president, is much more conservative than his father, or than Richard Nixon, or Dwight Eisenhower, or Gerald Ford. You really look at the Reagan and this Bush administration, and you go back to Herbert Hoover. And for those of you who don't know that, there's a couple of people here, like he said, a couple of million. But this is the extreme conservative philosophy. They started out by telling us government was the problem. What have you seen from them today? The top officials of the Bush administration are going around, and their motto is what used to be a joke the conservatives tried to tell about the Democrats. What's the motto of the Secretary of the Treasury and the Chairman of the Federal Reserve? We're from the government and we're here to help you. That's what they've been doing. The problem is they haven't done it in the right way. And what we now have is what we knew all along. The private sector is very important. That's how you create wealth. But if it's left without rules, if there's no involvement by the public sector as well, then things go badly. We have seen, first of all, they used to tell us, don't worry about economic fairness. When the overall economy grows, everybody will be better off. The argument was the rising tide will lift all the boats. Well, now that I represent the benefit, I know a lot more about boats. And I will tell you this, they may believe that the rising tide lifts all boats, but for the people in this country who can't afford a boat, then the rising tide is not good news. And that's what we've seen with these people. Even when the economy was going well under George Bush, you were seeing all of the increased wealth go to a handful of people. And the average citizen was worse off. So this argument that keep government out of it, just let growth come, we'll all be better off, clearly wrong. The other argument was, don't regulate, because you'll interfere with the market. Well, we've seen what the absence of regulation has done. In fact, the market needs rules. If you don't have rules, then people are going to get cheated, and they're going to lose money, and they're not going to invest. So we've had a complete collapse of this conservative philosophy. And we now are in power, and we're going to change it. And we're not anti the free market. I think, and I'm glad to tell you this, that you talk to people in the financial industries, many of them have come to understand, and in other industries, that they're better off with the Democrats, that they're better off with a set of public policies that cooperate with the private sector. So let me give you one example. A couple of months ago, as you know, the Secretary of the Treasury and the Chairman of the Federal Reserve came to us at night, Speaker Pelosi's office, and they said, you have to give us the right to spend $700 billion. They came to us on Thursday, they said we have to have it by Monday, or the economy will collapse. Now, here was the dilemma we faced. Given the importance of confidence in the markets, etc., when the Secretary of the Treasury and the Chairman of the Federal Reserve Board come to you and say, if you don't do this, there's gonna be a collapse, then even if there wasn't gonna be, there might be one. Because, you know, it's what we call a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we had to do something. We didn't do everything they wanted, and the biggest thing we did was to say, okay, you basically got us where we have to do something. We voted the $700 billion, but we said you can only spend half of it. And then you've got to tell Congress you plan to spend the second half and give us a chance to stop it. That has worked. Because we put that in there, as we became unhappy with the way the Bush administration was spending that first $350 billion, we froze the rest. So we are about now to get into the Obama administration, and we stopped the Bush administration from spending the second half. That second half is now available to be spent by the Obama administration. And I have been working with them.